Welcome to another episode of Clicks and Commerce. Today, I am here with our special guest, Felix Mayo. At this point, you don't need to know who we are. The person that we are with today is the guy. He used to be the Google Ads guy, but he's become so much more. Felix, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for the intro, Yananai and Franthoni. Pleasure to be here. I think it will be a fun one.
Definitely.
I've known Felix for I think 2 years now, and I just seen the natural progression. I remember saying, "Hey, Felix, you should do content," and he literally started and just basically took over LinkedIn. But Felix has always been known for a guy that discovers things on Google. Feels like you live inside the platform, man. You're always finding new features before everyone else. How do you find those?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so just living and breathing Google Ads all day, every day. So yeah, communicating with Adrian Decker, finding new stuff, and discussing whether that's new or not and how it can help the community. And yeah, I think, Franthoni, you've been one of the main drivers for me to post more and an inspiration. So
for sure, man.
It's been great.
I'm really happy to have you here and just see you posting more. And today we have an exciting episode. We're going to talk about I was going to say CMO, Black Friday from a CMO's perspective. Last episode, Yananai and I discussed how to prepare specifically from a Google Ads perspective and just in general. But today we actually brought on one of the guys that leads that transition and that whole preparation for brands. Felix is not only now a Google Ads guy, he's actually a fractional CMO, which is a bit different. So Felix, I also want to just give you the chance to kind of explain to us what, made that transition, what actually pushed you to go there. Was it just a natural progression?
Of course. Yeah, it was a very natural progression. As you said, started everything with Google Ads because that has to do a lot with the end of the journey for a lot of the e-com customers, unless it will repeat via email. But there's only so much you can do within the platform. Yeah. And then it becomes natural to look outside the platform as well.
Yeah.
So what's the top of the funnel? How do we fit more data into this so it keeps working better? How do we acquire new customers? And then how do we retain them? So it's just natural to look to other channels as well to have this full funnel approach, customer journey, which is not linear anymore. Is omni-channel, multi-touch point.
So that's pretty cool, man.
So quick one.
Go ahead.
We know you. We know why we're excited to have you. But before we really dive in, I just want you to take our viewers through the journey of where you came from and why we're so excited about you, the stuff that you've done in the past, who you've worked with, the companies, the numbers you guys are doing, so that people that are also watching, that are seeing these guys all hyped up, who is this Felix guy? So take us through that real quick.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
a great one.
Yes. So it all started in a small agency in Derby in the UK, where I started as a junior Google Ads specialist. And because we were so small, I was on the mat every day, just figuring stuff out, doing a lot of mistakes for my clients. And that's how you learn, really, just doing mistakes, correcting them and getting better every day. I had a good mentor in there as well, which helped me progress really quickly. And just by doing and being very, very curious, I would jump on any task. That's how I learned. And then I progressed rapidly into a PPC manager role where I spearheaded a team of 3 people. And then we managed around 40 or 50 accounts with this team. So yeah, I was responsible to make sure that we were hitting KPIs for all these 40 to 50 accounts. At that point, maybe we are spending around £1 million per month or so on in Google Ads, with just one of the clients taking maybe 125K in spend alone. So I would personally manage it. And then it became obvious that I wanted to be on the forefront of change. So that's why I took more into my own hands and went a bit more into freelancing. And that's how I ended up where I am now, where we're always striving for the best for our clients, trying new stuff, which is very difficult, by the way, because people in this space will know the shiny object syndrome is big in Google Ads. So there's a lot of stuff to try, but we need to be flexible and drop off what doesn't work and double down on what works, which is the the essence of Google Ads as well.
Cool. Just another quick one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in your
Please.
career so far, you've driven more than $100 million in revenue. You've been part of a machine that's pushed more than 100 million, created rather more than $100 million in revenue.
Yeah, I would say a lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, put some
All right.
respect on my
Congratulations.
name.
All right.
No, for sure. But yeah, guys, like we said, excited to have Felix. Felix is part of a really great agency, and he's like you said, in the forefront of change. And that's actually where I want to start. How do you work today, in your role as a fractional CMO compared to Google Ads? Do you still do Google Ads, or is that completely off the chain?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I still do Google Ads. I think Google Ads is a fantastic channel, and you still have to be in the trenches
Yeah.
to know what works and to really understand the client and the results. So I still do the Google Ads, but a lot has changed, especially with how we set goals, the reporting, the numbers that we're looking at. All of that has completely changed. In the past, we would really look at what the in-platform metrics look like, but you very soon realize these are not the numbers your client is interested on, and
Yeah.
the store or the brand owner will not also look at this. So you have to start looking at the same numbers that they look at.
Yeah. And they look at, profit and loss. That's really all a business owner cares about, right?
Yeah. So P&L is the king here, profit and loss. So the key or the core metrics that we focus on, especially as a CMO, they have to be omni-channel. So there will be things like the MER, the
Yeah.
media efficiency ratio. So you look at what percentage of your marketing costs constitute your total revenue. So that gives you a good idea of how efficient your efforts are. And then as well, you look at contribution margin 2,
Yeah.
which is the margin that you have left after you have deducted the marketing costs, the shipping costs, and even some of the OPEX, some of the operational costs that the brand has as a fixed cost. So that's a really good indicator of profit and of true growth, because if we are able to grow contribution margin 2, I guarantee you'll have a happy client and good growth month on month, year on year. So you should set goals looking at these metrics when you are a CMO.
Yeah, so it all starts with the onboarding. You mentioned some KPIs that we talked about as well in the last episode in terms of ones that we thought were important, but it's good to hear it from someone that's actually doing it. And one thing we want to mention is that we're also pre-Black Friday, like it's getting closer. And we've had some ideas as, Google Ads practitioners, for myself and Yana as an agency, on how we recommend our clients to prepare for Black Friday. But in your case, in this omni-channel approach, how are you preparing for Black Friday while connecting email, Meta, and Google together? Is there anything specific that you're doing to prepare for Black Friday?
Yeah, absolutely. So it may seem a bit exaggerate, but actually you have to start preparing for Black Friday now, because there's a lot to do. It's the main season of the year, as you guys know, is the Champions League for the PPC specialists and the media buyers. It really is. So we need to start preparing now, because there's a lot of research that has to be done into competitors, into our own first party data, look at what worked last year. We need to craft offers based on what was working, but also on what we think that will be trending or what will work this year as well, because things move very quickly and change.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research that needs to be done and preparation as well, because you may want to have, as we'll cover in a second, but some landing pages. How many creatives do you need? And all of that, you need to guide the creative process as well, and the developers based on what's working. And that's the CMO's job, to look at what's in the creative and what job, which part they take in the funnel.
Yeah, that's really important. Like you said, we're going to talk about creatives, but before we talk about creatives, I wanted to hear your thoughts on inventory and like marketing calendars. Is that something that you take into account as a CMO to prepare like all of that like creative volume, right? Because you need to know kind of what you have. What conversations are you having with your with brand owners regarding like inventory and marketing calendars and planning?
Yeah. So a lot of that will come from the client, how much they want to sell or how much they have in stock. But yeah, I think it's an important conversation to have. We've had the problem in the past where we've spent so much or the marketing's worked so well that the clients left with no stock, and then it's a problem because you have such a big momentum. So yeah, these are conversations to be have previously to Black Friday. If you have this conversation on Black Friday, it's too late. So yeah, definitely preempt with them which will be the products that we will be pushing if we'll have enough stock, and definitely set goals with them. And as I said, focus on the contribution margin too, and focus on the MER to establish these goals. Because if you establish the goals early, then you know if you're hitting targets or not. And if you never set the goals, it will always look like we could have done more or less. So
yeah, that's one thing that's important. Financial planning is super important to avoid that feeling of like missing out on an opportunity like you mentioned. So that's one important one. But Yana, I know you have some questions on creative and the creative aspect. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. First, I love the fact that you talked about unit economics. I am obsessed with unit economics and not just platform reporting, where Google obviously is going to tell you that your accounts are doing really well, but it might not necessarily translate to what the business owner is seeing. So having that full picture, that MER picture, and also that knowing the contribution margin, that if this is rising, that means that the business is growing. That means cash flow is growing, all of that. That is really important. And it's very great to hear that from the CMO perspective as well. Now that you're doing that you've gone beyond Google ads, and you're also doing landing pages, you're doing email marketing, you're doing meta ads as well. Can you tell us about the creative process of that, like how businesses can prepare for Black Friday and some of the things that you're seeing on your end in terms of tying those different parts together and, for the creative, beyond just saying that we're going to give you 50% off or it's just 17% off because it's a Black Friday special. So that full picture.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we'll talk about offers later because there's a lot more than just percentages. But as far as creative goes, there's a lot that it can be done, obviously. And I think nowadays it's very important to leverage AI. And we've seen great success by leveraging AI voiceovers over creative that these clients already had in stock or they were using. So there's definitely loads that can be done with AI. It allows you to run more ads, which in Meta is such a great future, to run more ads to see which angles work best, fail quickly, to find what works quickly. So this is very important, and AI is an enabler. Essentially, we can run 30 new ad batches every other week. So this is very powerful. And other than AI, also is important to still use the human factor. So UGC is still very important. We are finding that sometimes UGC on a very raw format where it's recorded with an iPhone, maybe it performs better than studio level videos. So it's great to have these connections with UGC that truly understand your brand, because what we've found in the past is that some brands send their products to content creators, but they don't really understand the brand and the product. So they will say very superficial features that do not connect or do not resonate properly with the target audience. So this is very important, sending your product to the right content creators and briefing them essentially on what the real problem that is being solved, because otherwise you can get very surface level creative that will not resonate and will not have the results that you expect.
All right. Is there any way that you're changing the messaging or the offers in line with Black Friday? Are there things that you're starting to test early, or that's something that you're really going to start pushing maybe a month or so before?
Yeah. So on Black Friday, we see usually that conversion rates go through the roof. So it's a very good time to clean the traffic. What this means is that we have to start preempting earlier. So we need to start now building audiences, populating these audiences. So this means having sort of awareness campaigns for our brand, and not for only for our brand, but also for category demand and product interest. So people realize and make these searches online, right? So yeah, absolutely. We need to start early to be able to clean this traffic on Black Friday where conversion rates are super high.
So I also want to ask how we fit email marketing into this. Is it simply remarketing, or you're starting to build those email lists early on, and you're going to feed that into basically going to feed whatever the emails that you're getting early into the algorithm for better targeting? How does email really fit into the bigger picture for Black Friday?
Yeah, email is a great one because we use email as our retention mechanism. So we use Meta and other systems to acquire customers, and email is really good for nurturing these customers that they may be still considering the product, and essentially to make them to buy again. So repeated purchases. So the way that email feeds and ties into this strategy is that by populating these audiences earlier, we can send emails to these people. So we have to work on these email flows as well. And email will be a great one to tease our offers and then to make them buy as well. So definitely build on these audiences early on and then use email to, make them repeat these offers. But it also ties into the other channels strategies, because by populating these audiences, as you know, we can integrate things like Klaviyo with Google Ads. So we can use this first party data to fit into the campaigns, and then use this party data to exclude from certain prospecting campaigns. So we only target new customers, and we can even bid higher for new customers. So email is a key part of the strategy, and it plays on different levels.
Lovely, lovely. I love the way that everything has its own strength, but it still feeds into the overall picture. So email is one thing, but you're still taking that data and then you're feeding it into the algorithm for better targeting, or where you don't want it to target, basically to repeat the same thing you're doing somewhere else. So you're telling it not to go for these customers because these customers are stratified in a certain way for this. So it's a really good machine or a good orchestration that you've got there, which I love. Talking about Black Friday, and you mentioned that the volume is going to be really high because it is the Champions League. It's the UEFA of the e-commerce, because you're going to get so much more traffic than usual. Is there a difference in the way you start to brief your team and how they should treat the creative offer? Like with the creative briefs, is there anything that changes in the instructions that you're giving them?
Yeah, sure. So I think on Black Friday already, as I said, is about cleaning this traffic. So the CTAs here will be more to adding urgency and act now, because prices or the offer will last only for a certain period of time, and they have to take advantage on this window, right? So the way that we usually direct the creative strategy for Black Friday will be a lot about just taking action and acting now. So we add urgency, right? So a really good thing is to tease your offers early on, just so when Black Friday comes, the CTA is about act now and adding urgency with flash sales and different methods. Another very important thing with this is a bit off topic, but
go ahead.
We are seeing that early bird is working really well. So by having your offer before Black Friday hits, essentially you are giving an offer before anyone else. You'll see that the customers, they have a certain budget to spend. And if you are the first person they can spend it to, they will have more to spend. So essentially, you're making these offers even pre-Black Friday, where people are spending a lot more because they have not yet spent loads on different things. So essentially, you have an edge against your competitors because they already spent it on you before anyone else. So this is a very interesting thing. Early bird Black Friday is a big thing.
All right, Felix, just give away some sauce, guys.
No, sorry. Before I hand it over to Franthoni, we actually had a mini debate last week with Franthoni about early bird offers. How early do you think people should go with early bird offers? What's too much? Just the right amount? Is it 1 month? Is it 2 months? Should early bird offers start right now, like almost 3 months, just under 100 days, closer to Black Friday?
Yeah, I think now is definitely too early. But by having your offers live maybe 1 week or 10 days earlier is a good amount of time for your users that have been teased already about your offer to come through and to make a purchase. So that window is the golden window, I would say, because if it's too early, then it's not yet related to Black Friday. It will be a different sale. But yeah, just by having a few days early. But what I fear it will happen is that people will realize about this, so they will start extending the early birds even earlier because they want to be before their competitors.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel validated because that's exactly what I said. Where if you do it too early, like it becomes months before, then you desensitize people to the Black Friday, and Black Friday starts becoming exciting. It might work for a year or two where it's like, these guys are already doing Black Friday, but eventually it's going to kill the momentum for even your Black Friday because everybody will be like, they always give these offers months before. So thank you for that. Franthoni, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, just on that same note, I feel like early depends on who's doing the early bird promotion. Like probably if it's like a big brand, like I don't know, like Nike or Adidas, if they ran like early bird in October, probably would still have some effect, right? Because they have like such a large catalog, they could play around with it. But yeah, I do agree that stretching Black Friday like a week earlier every week, by the end of 5 years, we'll be starting Black Friday in July at some point. So no, still some valid arguments. But yeah, we talked about creative. We talked about planning, the metrics, some tips as well on what type of creative to use to leverage that, the importance of email as well. Now I want to talk about the media buying and the offers, right? Because I feel like media buying and offers go hand in hand. And why I say that, and Felix, you let me know if you agree. When you have these offers, they give you the opportunity to increase spend and scale. I believe like the scaling goes as well with these offers. So again, we're looking at it, for Black Friday, from your perspective as a fractional CMO, how do you view budget allocation across all of these platforms? Probably excluding email because email you don't have to spend. But are you speaking to the Meta team, the TikTok team, and saying, hey guys, this is how much we'll split. This is by how much we'll split each platform. And then, looking at the MER or the contribution margin metric that you mentioned, and then adjusting it accordingly. I'm curious to hear how you're organizing the budget planning for such a big period when you're like the one, steering the ship.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of points here. I would say at the end, scaling an ecom brand, it boils down to three things, which I've coined the ecom vitals. And these things are the sessions, the conversion rate, and the average order value. So all these efforts, in some way, they have to contribute towards increasing these three areas. That's why having a CRO team on board is really important to work on these landing pages to increase the conversion rate, because essentially you're just boosting your ad performance straight off the bat just by doing these tests and finding winners. But what ads will do is they will increase your traffic immensely. They will increase your sessions massively. But then we have to find ways as well to increase the average order value. If we're increasing all of these three areas, then we are growing and we are scaling essentially. So different channels will have different ways of doing this. So TikTok and Meta ads are really up there on the top of the funnel. So they are your acquisition engines. They bring people on your site. So you have to plan which budget it goes towards acquisition essentially. Google also has some prospecting. So you can exclude past visitors, past purchasers, and you can find on the spot people that are looking for certain things and they are showing intent. So, but it falls a bit more into bottom mid of funnel essentially. And then email is really down in the funnel where we just make the users repeat the purchases, they become evangelists of us essentially, and they can even refer us to someone else. So we have to wait how much each of these channels contributes to the revenue and to the profit. For some clients, the acquisition is huge. So for fashion stores, we've seen that Meta is really important, even more than the Google comparison shopping service. So they will allocate more towards that. Whereas we have some clients that sell parts for vehicles. This is a very specific query. So they will look on Google, and that means that we have to allocate more budget on that area. Acquisition will happen more on Google than on Meta. Meta is up there for brand awareness. We'll have some remarketing with a catalog for sure as well, where we target past purchasers or visitors and so on. So yeah, we're the first step really is to agree on a target for the contribution margin too, because that's how much the client will pocket for themselves after everything is done.
Yeah, that's important.
And from that, they will tell us which kind of budget they have. Some years, if they've been growing year on year, it means that this year they will have a much higher budget. So then we have to allocate this accordingly, weighing in the importance of each channel.
Yeah, and I like how you broke down the funnel in some way, because some people may be expecting to hear, oh, you need a exact split like 60-40, 70-40, but there's not, it's not always the same. Like you said, you have to weigh whether you were social first brand, like I like to call them, or search first brand, right? So do you need to create demand, or do you need to capture demand or generate it? And then based on that conversation, then you say, okay, this is where we're gonna allocate budget. And I think that that's a great way to frame it, because again, it's not as simple as just saying, okay, we'll give Meta 20,000 and give, Google 5,000, which is what happens a lot in a lot of cases, even when the brand is a search brand. I've seen that, I've seen that happen multiple times. On that same note of, funnel, multi-channel, one big topic, and I know we're all going to smile when we say it, is attribution. And how do you view attribution, right? You mentioned some of those like high level metrics, which are not maybe related to, which are not reported by none of the platforms, right? So Google doesn't report on contribution margin. Meta doesn't report on MER. So where do you go to get that information, and how do you track that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
Yeah. I'll get to this, and then I want to cover a bit about offers, because I know you are and I've not covered that.
Yeah, we need the sauce. We need the sauce.
Yeah, but for attribution, I think there's a myth in the industry that people think, or practitioners think, that a big investment is required on a third-party tool to get the attribution. But the reality is that there are very affordable tools that can pull the data from the ad channels and platforms into a spreadsheet, and these same widgets from Shopify or WordPress can also pull the data from Shopify, and then you just, with simple calculations, you can create a spreadsheet that is replicable for multiple accounts, and that it considers MER, it considers contribution margin, it considers EBITDA. So shout out to Ricardo for showing me this. But yeah, that this is a very affordable way for brands to do so. You don't need a 3K retainer on a attribution software every month, or even 1K, because there are more manual ways that are very affordable to do this. And yeah, this is very important because, as we know, with cookies, ad blockers, and so on, attribution's been very, very messy. And even with modeling that Google uses and enhanced conversions, offline conversion tracking, and even the conversion API from Meta, these platforms don't talk to each other. Meta, it will easily claim a user that also Google is claiming, because they also clicked on an ad and both channels took part on the customer journey. So by looking at this spreadsheet, essentially, we can easily see what the real growth is. And then you may ask, well, but if we look at the whole picture, how do we know which channel is contributing to the growth?
That's a fair question.
Yeah, so that's where your other metrics come in. That's where you have to analyze how many new customers do you have, how many returning customers do you have, and so on. So this is a very good way to see if your acquisition channels are working well or if we need to invest more. So by looking at for example, Shopify reports, we have a very good idea of how the acquisition and the retention is going. And so we allocate budgets accordingly.
Yeah, that's a great breakdown. I was actually expecting for you to like name some fancy software. We're not gonna name them because they need to sponsor us. Yep,
Exactly.
give us money. We need those sponsors. But it's actually that's true. And yeah, definitely curious to discover some of those methods like you mentioned that are way cheaper, because right now the way it feels, it absolutely feels like you need to spend 3K to
Yeah.
get MER or contribution margin. That's like the state of the industry right now. Like these tools are like just pushing everyone to lean towards that. But before we dive into anything else, you mentioned that you would give us some sauce on the offers, and
Yeah.
so let's get the sauce. We want to hear it.
Yeah, no Black Friday podcast is complete without the offers section, indeed. So
Yeah.
I think there are different ways that we can go about this, and people think it's just a big discount, but there's a lot more to it. So first of all, the big discount is very appealing to users, but to do a big discount, first you need to own your unit economics that Yanai was mentioning earlier. You need to own them and know exactly how much you can allocate to marketing and other spends to acquire a customer. So essentially, we're talking what's the CAC that we can assume to acquire a customer, and what's the CAC that we need to assume for a new customer, because obviously new customers are more expensive. And so here the LTV is very important as well, because in some brands will have a very big LTV, and for some brands it's a one-off purchase. So if it's a one-off purchase, you need to make sure that you're making money on the first sale. Whereas if it's a supplement brand, you might want to be able to make the money later on. You can spend a bit more on acquiring this customer because you know they will invest in your brand over the next weeks and over the next months. So CAC to LTV ratio is different brand on brand, and you need to know your unit economics inside out. And nowadays, platforms are facilitating this. For example, Google Merchant Center now allows to show different discounts for new users. So this is a great way to acquire new customers. So you are incentivizing them with a bigger discount essentially. And we can bring this to the next level by using platforms like Blotout or Audience OS, which allow us to do first click imports to Google Ads. So we really know which are the new customers by a fact. These platforms are great.
All right, we gotta stop there. Audience OS, Blotout sponsors.
Yeah,
we need that sponsor.
absolutely.
We gotta sponsor it.
Exactly.
Felix,
Yeah.
keep going.
I heard that from John Moran, obviously the GOAT. So
yeah, legend.
That's one way we can go about it. But as I mentioned before, the ecom vitals are three, right? Sessions, conversion rate, and average order value. So another way we can scale is by augmenting our average order value. So we can do bundles. We can bundle up to create, offer higher discounts when you buy more. So spend more, get more discounts. And a really good example of this is a client of mine where they sold a particular merch just with this bundle. So they are a supplement brand, and people go crazy about the merch for some reason for this kind of sports brands and so on, even because they are just supplements, right? So once they release some merch, people want to show off they do sport look. I want the t-shirt, I want the cap. So by releasing just a bottle, for example, adding this bottle to the bundle, they increased massively the conversion rate from this new bundle. So this new bundle was really successful, and we realized it was mainly because people wanted to buy the bottle. So they were spending more just to get this particular bottle. So bundling is another way of going about it. And these limited edition bundles are really powerful as well. So those are different ways. For example, flash sales, we've seen them to be very successful. So you can run prepare a small Facebook campaign that shows off a flash sale for 3-4 hours. So this adds a lot of urgency. So again, this will increase your conversion rate. So another of the ecom vitals. So it's a great way to get people to purchase.
Guys, the
I've got a
ecom
quick
vitals.
question,
Yeah, no,
a
go
quick
ahead.
question on what was still on the flash sale.
Sure.
Would you be able to generate enough interest within those 4 hours? Or is it one of those flash sales where you tell that particular client or customer rather that it's 4 hours, but you are running it for a day or two so that different people see it?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, at the end of the day, urgency is very important. So we can use things like countdowns on the Google Ad headlines or even on the landing pages. We can use countdowns. But yeah, it's very as we said, we need to tease up these sales. So sometimes it's not enough. Just 3 to 4 hours is a small window. So you might want to target people that are already warm, people that have engaged with you. So these flash sales make them go over the fence and finally decide to move forward and make the purchase. So it will work best with warm audiences, kind of a remarketing approach.
I love that distinction and that clarity. Especially when once you mentioned that targeting the warm traffic, it connected the dots for me that yeah, because a flash sale to somebody who's cold will be like, so what? But when somebody's warm, it makes so much more sense that if they had a book from you and they needed something to push them to that edge, to that final edge, that might just be the thing where it's just like, but I did want to try this thing, so I might as well do it now when we've got this discount that's only there for 4 hours. So that's a brilliant way to put it. I'm feeling like we're going to need, in fact, you're definitely going to come back here. This is now your home. You're definitely going to be a recurring guest here because I feel like the time that we have is not enough to extract all the source that you have. And over time, beyond Black Friday, we would obviously love to have more conversations like this. Another thing that I noticed besides the whole Google Ads conversation and besides the Black Friday conversation is you appealed to a bit of old school sensibilities in me. I see in your hand, you've got like a pencil. I've got my trusty pen over here and I see you jotting things down and I'm like, that's what I love to see. Not everything needs to be on an iPad. Yes. I love that. So for now, we're going to end this here because we definitely could go on forever. And I also know that you've got a meeting as well in a few minutes because you're a busy guy. We're all busy guys. That's the life we chose.
We're all busy.
So thank you very much for coming on to our show. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
we appreciate the value that you've given our viewers. Franthoni?
Felix, again, man, it was a real pleasure to chat with you. We'll definitely have you on again. And yeah, like Yana said, you definitely dropped a lot of sauce on this episode. And I took a few notes for myself as well. So yeah. Again, thank you, man. And yeah, keep crushing it, man. You're on a crazy journey right now.
Appreciate it. No, thank you guys. Pleasure is all mine. I would love if you would have me again.
Sure, man.
Definitely. All right, guys. Like, subscribe, all the usual YouTube things. And see you on the next one. Cheers.
See you again.
All right.